With the new Blood Rend attunement and many more upgrades to current attunements in the game, I feel like it would be a good time to rank all of them. There are a lot of things you can do to make them really good. However, this is just how they are in terms of balancing and other stuff. This is just my opinion, by the way. Share me your opinion in the comments. Don't attack me, please. Yeah, this is just my opinion. So yeah, enjoy the video. Alright, in last place, I have Iron Sing, the metal attunement. This attunement's really good. However, generally, to the average player, it's very confusing. It has the most talents in the game, for some reason, and half of them are useless, which can waste a lot of time on a build. Not only that, the monsters are pretty mid. There's only a few that are must-needs, and everything else is just kind of mid. So just don't use it if you don't like it. However, I've seen some incredible Iron Sing builds that are so good. This is my opinion and what I've tested out with them, and I just don't really like Iron Sing that much at all. I hate it, kinda. After that, we have the newest attunement, Blood Rend. Blood Rend has a really cool, it's really cool. It's a really cool attunement. I like Chaser as a boss, and it's nice to see him get his own attunement, but its passive is really useless actually. It kind of just steals blood and uses it for mantras, and you're not gonna bleed out. It's too little to be effective, which is a problem. However, all the mantras can be used pretty well, and it's kind of just a good attunement overall. I haven't really tested out much, but I've seen builds with it, and judging it, it looks really cool, and then I can't wait to make a build with it. After that, we have Thundercall. Thundercall is definitely the most, you either love it or hate it. I personally love it. I have a bunch of combos I can do with it on my Dawnwalker Thunderbolt. It's a really good attunement. I love it. But to the average Deepwoken player, realistically, it's pretty mid. All the talents you can get, except for the surge ones and some of the normal ones, are really useless, which is bad. And since it's kind of a mid attunement, it doesn't have good mantras. It has a few Thunder Kick and Rising Thunder, which combo really well together. But overall, I think it's just kind of an upgraded version of Iron Sing, in my opinion. Still pretty mid. After that, we have Gilbreath. Gilbreath is probably the most used attunement, which makes sense. It has a lot of damage. It has some really good mantras. It's the best mobility, which is pretty interesting. And it's just a great attunement. The only thing it really lacks in is damage. However, there's a lot of mantras you can get that does damage. And it's not really noticeable compared to all the other attunements. Gale really shines in mobility with wind passage and a bunch of other things that make it just go so fast. And Jet Striker, if you pair it up with the Jet Striker, fast. It's a really fun attunement. I like playing around with it. After that, we have Frostra. Frostra is definitely the best in PvE. It doesn't really have a good use in PvP. But in PvE, it's just so good, and that's what makes it above Gale for me. With Gale, it has good PvE and PvP. However, that PvP compared to Ice is just so lackluster. None of the other attunements are good in PvE compared to Ice. Ice has so many good damaging PvE mantras, and it has so many mobility for stuff like Layer 2. It's great, and it just shines in PvE. In fact, I think that's the only good PvE builds you can make other than Gale and Flame Charm PvE builds, which is, pretty good. Yeah, that's why I really like Ice. It's just the best PvE attunement, and it's really good for PvE. It can also be used for PvP, just not as the extent of PvP. So yeah. After that, we have Attunement list. The reason why this is really high, and this is probably the second most used attunement technically, It's because you save so much points, and you can make a bunch of really good builds. The default mantras you can get from your stats can be pretty good. However, the rest are kind of mid, and some are really bad. However, if you get the right mantras, the right build, the right talents, you're gonna start cooking and shine, man. Attunementless is pretty boring though, which I don't really like about it. However, again, you'll be cooking and shine, so who knows, maybe you'll find it fun. The next attunement's my personal favorite, and it's Flame Charm. Flame Charm does so much damage, holy. There's a bunch of combos you can do, and it's just such a good build, especially paired up with all the legendary weapons it has. It's great. I totally recommend it. It's kind of a beginner attunement, but it's just such a good one either way. There's so much things you can do and such variety with Flame Charm. It's also really fun to use and really fun to progress, and it's probably the easiest way to progress in PvE or in Voidwalker, because the mantras do so much damage for no reason. It's such a good attunement. However, there's one that's better. One that is way better compared to all the other ones. There is one that's just a bit better than Flame and surpasses all the other ones. And that is Shadowcast. Remember how I said Frost Drop was really good in PvE? Flip that and you have Shadowcast. Shadowcast has the best PvP potential out of anything. So much combos. Eclipse Kick does a bar, which is stupid. There's so many things. There's Contractor and Vision Shaper, which is, are really good with Shadow. There's so much things you can do. There's Deep Spindle, which is probably the best legendary weapon in the game. There's like Crit Blade, which has a really good crit and does a bunch of damage. It's just, there's so much stuff. It is a very boring attunement. It doesn't really have a use in PvE either, but the amount of things you can do in PvP is just crazy. The combos, the damage, the talents, everything shines in PvP, and that's why it's better. That's why it overshadows everything. That's why it's probably the best attunement in Deepwoken. It can have some use for PvE, but it shines in PvP compared to the rest. Like, if you're fighting a shadow user and you're on a build you haven't used before, you're cooked. Unless they're really bad, which half the time, they're brain dead shadow users. You cannot parry. But other than that, that's my ranking.